She says you're different, but she still doesn't choose you. That burns, doesn't it? You give her your attention, your truth, maybe even your heart, but you're just another option to her. Let me show you why. You think desire is about words, that if you say the right thing, do the right dance, prove your worth, she'll see you. But listen carefully, my friend. A man who begs to be chosen has already lost. She doesn't crave the man who tries hardest. She craves the man who doesn't need to try at all. That's the paradox. You must become the gravity, not the chaser. The flame, not the moth. You've been programmed to believe women choose based on kindness, effort, attention. But when a woman has options, and she always does, her body doesn't respond to logic. It responds to power, detachment, mystery. That's why she picks the man who makes her feel slightly uncertain, the one who isn't always available, the one she can't quite figure out, the one who's centered, rooted in something deeper than lust or outcome. That's where Stoicism enters. Marcus Aurelius didn't chase the crowd. He ruled himself. That's what made him magnetic. You want her to choose you? Then stop making her the center of your strategy. Become the kind of man who doesn't need to be chosen. And suddenly, everyone starts competing for your attention. You see, women don't fall for men who need them. They fall for men who move without them. That's not cruelty. That's nature. If she knows you'll always be there, always texting, always waiting, you become boring background noise, predictable, forgettable. But when she senses that you could vanish, when she knows your presence is earned, not assumed, now she leans forward. Now she wonders. And when a woman starts wondering, she starts chasing. Most men are so desperate to be the chosen one, they forget what it means to be a chooser. Stand still. Speak less. Watch everything. Let her feel the silence. Let her wonder who you really are beneath your calm. And don't flinch when she pulls away. That's part of the test. Because in a world full of loud, thirsty men, the quiet, grounded one becomes unforgettable. Say nothing. Be everything. That's how she chooses you. You've been taught to seek her validation, to win her with consistency, with compliments, with constant availability. But that's not what awakens her deepest hunger. It's not what keeps her up at night, wondering about you. No, that kind of comfort is what she expects from a friend, not the man who haunts her thoughts. A woman with options doesn't crave more options. She craves certainty inside mystery. A man so rooted in his own path that her presence is welcomed, but never needed. That's rare, that's power, and that's the man who rises above her noise. You must stop thinking of women as goals. They are not trophies to win. They are mirrors. They reflect back the energy you carry. If you come to her needing affirmation, she'll reflect avoidance. If you come to her seeking meaning, she'll test your foundation. And if you come to her full of direction, silence, depth, she'll orbit around that without even understanding why. But if you're still chasing her while she's chasing 10 other options, you've already stepped into the trap. Women don't admire men who compete for their time. They admire the one who's so locked into his mission that her attention feels like a privilege, not a prize. Stoicism teaches us this. You are not owed anything by anyone. Not her love, not her loyalty, not even her time. So when you show up as a man who gives freely but never pleads, who listens but never begs, who can walk away without flinching, you become rare, you become unforgettable, you become the standard. That's when she starts choosing you, not because you pushed, not because you persuaded, but because you embodied what she didn't know she needed. And don't think this means being cold. Stoicism is not numbness, it's control. You feel everything, but you're ruled by nothing. You can touch her soul with a look, a pause, a few words, because you are not rushing, you're not forcing, you're not afraid. Remember this: when a man is willing to lose her, she starts fearing the loss. When a man is silent in chaos, he becomes the loudest signal in her world. You must become the eye of the storm, the stillness that demands attention. She doesn't need more affection, she needs more reverence. Be the man who honors himself first, and she'll fight to be part of your peace. You want to know the secret? It's not about being the richest, the best looking, or even the most charming. It's about being unshakable. Women don't fall in love with your resume. They fall in love with how they feel around your energy. And that energy must whisper one truth without you ever saying it. I don't need you. I choose you. But I can unchoose you just as quickly. That's the danger most men can't stomach. They're too afraid of loss to ever hold real power. But listen closely. A man who can walk away holds the deepest attraction. Why? Because in that moment, she sees that you are free, and freedom, my brother, is the most intoxicating scent a woman can smell on a man. You think you lose her when you don't chase. But the truth is, you lose her when you do. Because chasing tells her you're not grounded. It tells her you place her above your purpose, your peace, your time. And no woman respects a man who abandons himself to win her. So you must ask yourself, what do I offer that none of her options can? And the answer is simple. You offer your absence, your silence, your distance, not as a punishment, but as a boundary. You do not compete, you do not convince, you simply exist with intensity and direction. That alone removes half your competition. A woman chooses based on how deeply she feels pulled, and pulling her doesn't require effort, it requires presence. When you walk into a room, do people feel you without a word? When she looks into your eyes, does she see a storm you've made peace with? When she tries to play her games, do you smile or react? That's what separates men who get forgotten from men who get chased. Stillness is more seductive than strategy. Mystery is more magnetic than effort. And a man with nothing to prove is more attractive than a man with everything to offer. Let them talk. Let her test. Let her even flirt with the others. You stay seated in your power. You nod. You observe. Because you already know. She won't find you in them. She'll only feel your absence like a wound she can't reach. You know why most men crumble? Because they attach their identity to how a woman responds to them. If she replies, they feel confident. If she pulls away, they spiral. That's not strength, that's slavery. And as long as your sense of self rises and falls with her attention, you are not a man, you are her puppet. But the Stoic man, he is untouchable, not because he's emotionless, but because he's anchored. He doesn't flinch when she withdraws. He doesn't panic when she goes silent. He doesn't chase when she tests his patience, because he understands the sacred principle of value. Anything that can be taken for granted will be. Read that again. You give too much too soon. You explain yourself. You check in. You apologize for being a man with standards. You shrink so she'll stay. And you wonder why she doesn't respect you. The truth is brutal. You taught her how to treat you by refusing to treat yourself with dignity. What if, instead of asking what she wants, you asked yourself what you deserve? You deserve to be chosen with clarity. You deserve a woman who isn't weighing you against a gallery of half-hearted men. You deserve peace, not confusion, direction, not games. And if she can't meet you there, you must walk away with grace, not bitterness, Because detachment is not loss, it's alignment. A Stoic man doesn't play in the mud of her indecision. He stands at the edge of her chaos and offers stillness. And if she can't rise to meet it, he doesn't lower himself to beg. He leaves, quietly, finally, because he knows his absence will echo louder than his words ever could. And here's the cruel irony. The moment you no longer need her is when she'll feel the deepest urge to return. Why? Because energy doesn't lie. She senses when your soul has moved on, when your mind no longer obsesses, when your heart has nothing left to offer her but silence. That silence becomes unbearable. So she circles back. But by then, you're no longer the same man. You've grown. You've seen through the illusion. You've remembered who you are. You are not an option. You are the consequence of failing to choose correctly. She wants a man who makes her feel something she can't control. That feeling doesn't come from your looks, not your status, not your words. It comes from your presence, the kind that walks in with quiet certainty and leaves a room humming with tension. That presence is built in solitude. Most men distract themselves with noise, scrolling, chasing, performing. But the Stoic man sharpens himself in silence. He embraces loneliness. He welcomes discomfort, because he knows discipline breeds gravity, and gravity makes her curious, even obsessed. You want her to choose you while you're still unsure of yourself? That's impossible. A woman cannot feel certainty toward a man who hasn't yet claimed his own life. She'll test you endlessly until you prove that nothing, not her body, her beauty, or her games, can move you off your center. Stop answering right away. Stop oversharing. Stop giving more than is earned. Instead, give her the gift of your unpredictability. Be a man of few words but piercing intentions. Let your silence provoke her reflection. Let your absence expose her expectations. She'll ask, "Why aren't you texting me more?" Because your time is sacred. She'll ask, "Are you seeing someone else?" Because she feels threatened by your peace. She'll ask, "What are we?" Because she no longer feels in control. You don't respond with ego. You respond with calm. You make her work for your attention the way you once worked for hers. But now you're not desperate. You're detached. And in that detachment, you become irresistible. Because women don't remember the man who was always available. They remember the one who taught them that presence is rare, silence is seductive, and attention is a currency, not a charity. Be slow to react. Be firm in boundaries. Be ruthless in protecting your energy. You don't want every woman to choose you. That's the mindset of a boy craving attention. You want the right woman to recognize you. And to recognize you, you must first disappear from the noise. Then, and only then, will your presence hit her like a storm. Not because you chased, but because you became the man she couldn't ignore. She had options, but she kept thinking about you. Not because you begged for her time, but because you mastered the art of not needing it. Understand this. The man she chooses in the end isn't the loudest. He's the one who left the deepest impression in silence. The one she couldn't shake. The one who made her feel uncertain, curious, excited, all at once. That emotional chaos. She doesn't run from it. She chases it. Most men are forgettable because they're predictable. You were not. You were calm when others competed. You were focused when others flattered. You were silent when she expected noise. And in that void, she felt something terrifying and beautiful, the realization that she couldn't control you. That's when the shift happens. She starts texting first. She watches your stories. She brings up the little things you said, the ones you barely remember, because now you are no longer a man in her orbit. You are the gravity. And that happened not because you changed yourself for her, but because you refused to. She'll tell her friends, there's just something about him. That something was your stoic restraint, your lack of emotional hunger, your refusal to collapse just because she blinked the wrong way. You didn't become this man overnight. You had to bleed first. You had to be rejected. You had to suffer in silence. You had to burn through the old, needy version of yourself, the one that thought being chosen was a prize, instead of a side effect of becoming exceptional. And now you're not looking for love to complete you. You're walking with love already in your hands. Self-love, self-command, self-respect. And any woman who enters your life must bring something just as powerful, or she will simply pass through like a breeze against a mountain. So let the others chase her. Let them overthink, overshare, overcompensate. You sit in your stillness. You build your empire. You sharpen your mind. And if she's wise enough, aware enough, ready enough, she'll choose you. Not because you tried to stand out, but because you stood alone. And in that silence, you became the only voice she could hear.